All right, all right, all right. Welcome to this episode of Warrior Week Parables from the Pit. My guest today, very special guest, a brother with Warrior for more than five, coming 6 years now. Tony LeBlanc. Tony LeBlanc, graduate of Warrior Week 11 back in the days, and as well as recently Warrior Week 56. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. Great to be here.
So obviously long flight
Yes.
from what is it, 12 hour? More than that, 16?
3 flights and about 12 plus hours.
Shit. Okay.
Right out here, yeah.
So yeah, 12 hours all the way from
Moncton, New Brunswick. Canada.
Moncton, New Brunswick. So for all my peeps in New Brunswick, as we say it in French Canadian, the fucking newbies. There's just a newbie call is. So anyway, welcome to our conversation. Welcome to Parables from the Pit. We're going to have a conversation that's going to tie in. That's going to tie in 6 years of fucking history here, man.
Yeah.
And my intention is really to highlight the progress of a journey of a man inside of the Warrior's Way. Truly, it's been a journey for you. It's been a journey of spiritual development. It's been a journey of self-development. It's been a journey of character development. It's been a journey of progress inside of your relationship with God, first and most of all, and then your children and the people that your significant other. I know you went through a divorce, and so many things, right? It's been a journey also inside of the business as the expansion of the empire and the work that you do. So I'm glad to have you here and talk about that. There are many guys that come on the Warrior Week Parable from the Pit, and there are a few that have a history just like yours. I think we had 4 or 5 guys that have that longer history, and then the most recent graduates one from previous years, like a year or two. But I'm truly, truly proud to have you here and have this conversation. We're gonna go to some places that may not be pleasant, but that's what we do here. So talk to me, Tony, about. Obviously you're at home, you go on Facebook and comes across Garrett J and a message. Take me through that first spark that you've seen inside of the message of Warrior coming in through Garrett, and what that made you act upon.
So this goes back to, I can almost date it exactly, to probably around March of 2014. I had just separated from now my ex-wife, and we were literally in the midst of I was in the midst of finding a new place to live. And one day I was at my office and I saw these pictures on Facebook, as a lot of guys get firstly introduced into Warrior, and it was from a previous Warrior Week, and it was from a buddy of mine, Joshua David Hayward. And there was some pictures that were posted there from them doing something on the beach. And I was like, wow, those are really cool pictures. I'm like, what is this? I know Joshua. So I looked at a few other pictures and I sent him a message. I'm like, what's this stuff all about? And he told me it's Warrior. Go check out Garrett and kind of go from there. And after, almost immediately right after that, I Googled him, found him, and I got put onto some sort of funnel, I guess at the time, maybe or maybe not. Mm-hmm. And it was just a bunch of videos that Garrett was talking. And for the first time in my life, it was like, again, I know everybody says it over and over. It's like somebody is talking directly to you. It's like they know you better than you are. Mm-hmm. And I was in a lot of pain at that time, and I was, fresh off the separation. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And he said a few key things that really resonated with me and urged me to give him a call and to kind of reach out to them.
So I can recall because, I saw the same videos and I was put in the same funnel. And I specifically remember Garrett wearing his green hat.
Yes.
I specifically remember him finishing CrossFit workout, coming out of CrossFit Ethos back in the days. Shout out to all the ex-members of CrossFit Ethos. Just coming back out of CrossFit Ethos in Leather Ranch and then just going on and talking about life. Yep. And tying in the lesson that he actually got from that particular workout to life, and then always ending up with an action item, like a question that, okay, well, how does this, what I've shared with you, how does that apply to your life? And I remember one of those videos for me was like, okay, what do I actually do what this guy is telling me? Because he actually fucking sweats like a motherfucker. And like at the beginning it was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then after a while it's like, you know what, I have tremendous amount of respect for this guy, because he works hard and he's constantly every day showing up with a message, and all he does is he's asking us to reflect on our own shit, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm the fucking asshole here, not reflecting. And then so I started reflecting. How is this applying my life? And this is where boom, like this is where I became interested, right? I was no longer following, but I was now interested in the message or I started seeking without truly knowing that I was seeking at that time.
Yep.
Did you feel the same way?
100%. I guess the situation that I was sitting in back then, I didn't even know, or I didn't even have the awareness of being able to ask myself those types of questions. It was completely new to me. I had never done anything in the self-development world. I had barely read any books on the subject. I just knew that I was in a really bad place, and the questions and the mannerisms to which that he spoke, and again the actions, the calls to action that he had, it was like every time that I would watch something, I would walk away from it and I'm like, motherfucker, I've never thought about that. I'm like, either it gave me a completely new perspective on how to either appreciate something, or a completely different perspective on, okay, I'm being a real ass in this situation, and how do I eliminate myself and look at it from a different way?
So I totally understand where you're coming from, because I was exactly like that. The concept of coaching to me at best was a soccer coach that I'm seeing on TV,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I was not aware of such an industry and so many people in this line of business,
Yep.
right? And yet here I was considering myself a savvy business guy, but I was truly in my own world, right? And in my own world, I was truly like, I was narrowed down to what I was focusing on, which is what my career and building the business inside of that. And then I was the only consulting I would see, it would be only in the world of business,
Yep.
like literally in the world of business, and like, hey, you're not allowed to know anything about my personal life, and so if you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
100%.
100% like you, when I started asking those questions, and I don't even know how the fuck I ended up at Worry Week, right? I remember when I transferred him the money, I was like, I was in shock. And I've transferred money in the past to so many other businesses, wires and everything else that we bought inside of the business and purchased, and never, ever, ever felt, and amounts that were like 10 times, 20 times more than what I transferred, never, ever felt the feeling that I had, which was, like, what am I doing? Like, what did I do? Like, what is this? Like, it was the unknown. You see what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember Garrett did his infamous pitch at the end of all calls. You know, are you in or are you out? And basically goes right to asking for your credit card. And a little bit unlike you, to where I had never spent anything close to that. I had never invested in myself in any way, and I gave him my credit card and I paid, and it was like, I didn't look back. I didn't even question it. I was in such a bad spot to where I will do anything at this point to help to help my soul feel better, and to get me on a road out of this ultimate pit. It's like crazy.
And again, I wasn't really in a bad place, but I was not confident and I was uncertain. I'd like, you know, anybody would say something and I would just stick it on myself as a label and carry it, and like religiously believe that that's my fucking label.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had many labels in that past, and when I was in that place, the first year post separation, I went to a lot of dark places, and calling myself, you know, in terms of leaving your family and marking yourself as the one responsible for it, in terms of labeling yourself as you know, as an abandoner of your family, and all these different shapes, and the different feelings of shame and the enormous amount of guilt that was just piling on. It's like every day there was a new label that I was self-inflicting on myself. 'Cause
Yeah.
I had no way, I didn't understand how to deal with the stuff.
And you know, when you look, how old were you when the divorce took place or the separation?
Would have been 37.
Okay. Because and how old were the kids?
My daughter was 6 and my son was a year and a half.
It's really hard
It was
because
unbelievable.
it's truly it's where the flower's supposed to bloom, at, like right around that, and it's just you found out that not, and now the amount of guilt and shame thinking that these kids now cannot be fully raised to their potential because they're not in the same household, right?
Yep.
Like all the stories that comes with the traditional way of seeing this. Can you share a little bit some of like the like? So here's a reality, right? The impact and the pain of separating from what was supposed to be to now something that you don't know, and more importantly, to the tremendous amount of pain that at that time you thought that you're going to cause to your children. From a man's perspective, there is literally nowhere to hear that. Because if you hear that, it's probably a fucking therapist that's sitting on a couch that is hearing the man express. But it's not expressed out to the public for the fear of giving away a weakness that may be manipulated by other men to take advantage of your business or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like there's that fear, right? So can you share with us like the pain that you had to go through? Because there's nowhere else that this has been communicated. And if you can communicate that pain and somehow the audience that are listening to this that can relate to that, and it's like a healing somehow for them, that somebody else has gone there. But also more importantly, today on the call, there was something said that we as brothers and kings, there's this thing that we work on, which is like we weaponize ourselves for battles that are we currently in, but also for those that are coming.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so, look, no one knows what the future holds. And so if there's a battle coming for one of us in the future, which ultimately would be the pain and the pit of separation and divorce, to know this and to be aware of it just prepares us for a battle. It's a battle that I don't wish on anyone, but this is what we do here. Is that we don't close, like one of the stories that I've shared here is a year and a half ago, I was in downtown LA walking around, and there's this homeless guy. You know the story? Yeah, there's this homeless guy underneath the bridge, and like I have a conversation with him, and at one point he's like, like, dude, like my house is just like here in Bel Air, and I have this mansion, I have these cars, my wife and 2 daughters and the kids. I'm like, bro, why don't you go to your fucking house? And he's like, no, it's just like I can't. There's so much pain in there. I'm going, dude, that's the story. You're gonna kill the story. He goes, you don't understand. There's like so much pain associated with that environment. The minute I go there, I cannot be there. So I didn't understand. I thought that, he's making on some excuse or whatever. I walk away from it, and he turns around and yells back and says, this could happen to you. And I turned around, and I had this moment, it's like, fuck, man. When a man is put in an environment where that environment's so great, then like literally gets paralyzed. It's like if I walk in a room and it burns my hand, I won't walk into the room no matter who is in there, right? And it's not so basically, this is where it clicked. Like this could happen to all of us. So preparing for the battles and knowing the pain inside of your mind and heart, that dude, like there was no other venue to share this other than inside of Warrior Week and the experiences that you gone. But this is an opportunity to give that gift to all of us, man.
Yep. For me, the pain. Once the separation, this started probably 3 years before the actual time that we'd separated. My ex-wife and I were having a lot of problems, and we decided to have a second child. So we just had my daughter at that point. So we decided to have a second child in hopes to try to bring our relationship back together. And I believe a lot of people try to do that, where they bring a child into the world and they think that that's going to solve a lot of problems. Unfortunately for us, it created a beautiful son that I adore. But however, it created probably more of a rip in our relationship as a couple. So fast forward to the actual separation. When I left, the overwhelming feeling, it coincided exactly to when my father left me when I was a child, or left my mother. So I was right around 1.5, 2 years old. So the pain associated that with me was excruciating at times, and it was often blocking any type of progress that I was making anywhere in my life. And I had nobody to talk to at that point. Um, Pre-separation, before we even separated, to after we separated, I didn't have a lot of friends because my travel where I worked, I was with IBM at the time.
Yeah.
I was traveling the globe, and when I was home, and I didn't really have a lot of guy friends to be able to discuss this stuff, and I certainly didn't have any guys that I could have discussed these things at this type of level, and it left me in a massive rut in terms of, okay, when I left, it's like, how do I fucking figure this shit out? I was just in a complete fog, not knowing where to go. And I've known for a long time that yearning in terms of being part of something or being associated to something has always been something that I've been looking for. So, of course, when the Warrior message came upon me, it was kind of like an all-in-one situation to where I was going to get that access to other brothers that I could feel part of something. And it also gave me the ability to be able to get some of this stuff out. The biggest thing that I see in that time or span of a couple of years was not having any tools to be able to work with, to be able to help me get out of some of these situations. I didn't know myself enough to even know where to start. And that was probably one of my biggest issues at the time. Was I knew there was a problem. And as well as with my relationship, if I would have had the tools that I had today, 5-6 years before the ending of my marriage, I don't know where I'd be today. Would I be still with her? I don't know. Would I be where I am today? I don't know. All I know is I had zero tools. Like you, my life was business.
Yeah.
My marriage at one point was pretty good. My daughter was in good health, and I had a great career going. But there was this huge void in the background that it was getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and the rift between the marriage was separating, and the gap was getting bigger and bigger.
You know, as I'm hearing you talk, and in my case, I've had a good relationship with my dad, but there's been a lot of stuff that we didn't talk about, and it's just the way. It's a cultural thing, like meaning that it's Eastern culture. There's certain portfolios you don't openly talk about, sexualities and stuff like. Although my dad was very open-minded person, but I feel that was framed by that culture not to even ask. And so it doesn't mean that it's Eastern, Western. I think it's a lot to do with also with the family itself, because I know, growing up in Quebec, there's a lot of families just very similar to that. And New Brunswick, same thing, which is, it's the old way of thinking. It's very, very different. Like, if the culture from Quebec is completely different. Quebec, New Brunswick, French-spoken Canadians are very different from the rest of Canada. Yeah. Like, it is the only way to explain this is to share this if you have lived it. What I mean by that is there's a lot, like, we're going to talk about this because there's a lot of old traditions that are maintained. The culture in Quebec is truly based on simplicity. The foundation, like the French-speaking Canadians are the most simple fucking people you'll meet on your, like, literally modern but simple, right? We're not talking about fucking people in the woods and in the Amazons and shit like that. Modern, simple people. The most modern, simple. Having lived there for fucking 23 years, and it's been like, it's actually my, I wouldn't call it a secondary culture. It is my first language. The French became my first language. I speak Farsi, but French became my first language because I did all my studies in French. But then, like, it was a culture that I grew into. But also I had my culture from, Persian culture, and that was mixed. So I preserved that as well. But I can sit here as an observer that was somebody that was inside, but I could also pull myself out and watch from the outside and say that there is a lot of a lot of traditions that were reserved and kept inside of the French Canadian. And if you look back even at some of the way that we use, cursing language, right? We don't, like French Canadian, we don't use like fuck or fuck you or fuck off. And those don't really exist. In French, they do. Yeah. But we tied it into our keywords like tabernacle or, keywords that were like a revolt against something that we didn't want. So anyway, we can go back to the trails of all that. But it was a revolution against our freedom, and it became the insults, right? And if you look at it, it's very, very cultural, very difficult to explain to someone.
Yeah, it is.
Very,
yeah.
It's very expression based,
yep.
very emotional based.
Yep.
So inside of that, I found that some of that had its negative aspects. So my culture from the East blended with the culture I was part of, and that piece of conversations that never took place with my dad. So truly what I'm getting at is I never got the guidance to be in a relationship. And I was left in that place to think that I'm the man, I know what I'm doing. And even my sexuality was like, okay, well, I don't need any references. I got this, right? So I'm not, as if I was not open to develop myself in that area.
Yeah. No.
By default.
Yep. You're lucky that you had some guidance. I had zero guidance.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with my father leaving me at such a young age, I was basically left to my uncle. When he was around, which earlier on, I'd say probably until I was around 11 or 12, he was more in my life. But from 2 till about 10 or 12, I had basically zero male influence or guidance in my life.
Yeah.
It was my mom. It's just me and her. She raised me. I think she did a wonderful job with what she had. But I definitely see and feel a yearning for certain things that I'd missed. And only till now, I'd say over probably the last couple of years, have I actually begun to unpack a lot of those emotions and those feelings because they were buried real deep. I didn't want to go after them. I remember coming out of Warrior that first year in 2014, continuously saying, my childhood is great. I got no issues. I got no baggage there.
Yes.
And I got my ass kicked at Warrior 56. It completely changed my world. And of course, when the separation happened, all those things of my father left me when I was 1.5, 2 years old. I left my son's mother at 1.5 years old. It's like, how the fuck could I do that? I am repeating this asshole's history, and I'm going to be him. And that took me for a ride.
Yeah.
A ride that I wasn't expecting, and I had zero ability to handle.
When you think about the concept of the code, which is something you've been very familiar with, which is stop fucking lying, start telling the truth. There is a yin and yang to that, meaning that there's a negative and positive side. Just like I don't know, I'm not Christian, but we'll take the fucking Bible anyway. Like, okay, think about the Old Testament. It's all about don't, like the 10 Commandments and like a don't, right? And then you think about the arrival of Jesus, which is all about do, compassion, and do. So there's the yin and yang, right? And they both have to come into play for that thing to work. The don'ts and the do's. The don'ts is like, hey, don't make these mistakes in order to find yourself in a bad situation. And the do's are like, do these things in order to generate more compassion, more love, and so on. And when you put them together, it's like, man, like, don't stop fucking lying is the don't. And start telling the truth is the do.
Yeah.
But if we only do the do and we don't do the stop lying, which is what you experienced, which was, hey, my child is great, my child is great, my child is great. And it's not a malicious lie. It's a lie that we tell to ourselves because we don't want to visit some of the old lies inside of us, right? Even the truth that we speak is somehow infected by those lies. And the minute we truly release these things that we're like kind of like holding on by default to, once that's released, then the essence of the truth can live with us. And this is who you are today, what you feel, how you operate, and what you can transmit to your wife and your kids.
Yeah, no, 100%. for years. I was scared to even go to that place. I didn't know how to. I think there's those lies of omission to where you don't even want to go to these places. But I think there's a big problem for a lot of men out there that they don't know how. Like it's really that simple to articulate. It's like I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't even know. I know it's like, okay, I'm starting to uncover these things, and I'm starting to see some patterns throughout my life that I do this, and this, and I'm like, how do I reverse engineer that and try to figure out where that shit came from or how that all started? And to go through that journey can be incredibly painful. It can be incredibly exhilarating. There's all sorts of things that are wrapped into it, but just taking the journey and knowing how to do it and where to start is a massive thing that I think that a lot of guys out there that I've spoken to about this code, that's kind of their first thing. It's like, I don't even know how to think that stuff.
It's true.
Right?
I mean, that was me.
Yeah.
Like I truly, like, if you 7 years ago, if you would come in with this podcast to me, I wouldn't say fuck you, but I just wouldn't know what to do next. Yeah, like I would hear it, but I would kind of like paralyzed and frozen in that space. It's like, because we are conditioned to just saying, reframe it, right? Reframe it. So, okay, well, listen, man, that's the past. I don't need to think about the past. I'm going to think about the future. I'm going to be positive. And it's not about that. It's not about being, but you can be very positive while you actually clean up the past.
Yep.
And so the problem is most men carry the past into the future under the label of positivity. And that was me. Yeah. And so what was your childhood for you and the trauma that took place inside of your father leaving you and whatever that caused in terms of trauma, for me was just like being inside of a civil war at that age of, between 6 to 8 and witnessing shit that I shouldn't witness and being part of shit that I shouldn't be at 8. And then for years, going back to almost 30 years, dismissing anything that had to do with war. Like I would stay away from fucking G.I. Joes. Mm-hmm. I would stay away from any back in the days in the 90s or in the 80s, it was really popular too, but like Vietnam movies. Remember this bunch of stay away from all that, anything that was it's like nowadays I watch a lot of war movie and I stay away from fucking horror movie. I don't know what so I'm like, I don't need to watch that shit, right? But back in the days, I would watch a lot of horror movie and stay away anything that had to do with war, anything that would be war related on news. Stay away from it because all those were triggers. So for 30 years, I kind of went like wanted to do with anything that has to do with military, war, anything like that. And then at Warrior, I truly found me. I truly who I was as a child. And that's why Warrior resonated with me because it was so close to the military lifestyle that I lived, but yet it was different. Like nobody was getting fucking blown away. There was no chemical bombs. There was none of that shit. And so it brought in those feelings back, right? Yep. As it was somewhere that was safe. And then when I started Resonate, I started contributing to it, and we built like the projects to help the Navy SEAL guys and raise money and like all kind of bring in all the veteran guys inside of Warrior and like help and contribute. And next thing you know, I'm actually a spokesperson for. And not knowing like for 30 years I stay away from it because of that past.
Yeah. Yep. I think the Warrior message resonates a lot with the men. They may or may not know it, but they're probably the biggest liars. Whether it's internally or externally. I know for myself, I wasn't a very big external liar. I was a massive internal liar. Yeah. In terms of
same here.
Not being able to look at some issues that were fairly deep or even willing to go back or having the willingness to go back and to uncover and unpack some stuff. Because I was scared. I didn't know how. I didn't even know where to start. And it just scared me in terms of what it could bring forward.
Yes.
And I know for many years that held me back quite a bit.
Or not knowing why would I even get into that. Like I say, okay, if I want to put energy and effort in, I might as well put it in business so I can get some money out of it, right? Why am I doing this for? Like, what is the destination? I didn't know where the destination would be.
Yeah, your example exactly. So you were afraid of the wars.
Yeah.
So the way that this rolled out for me was relationships. This didn't happen until Coach Sam, Warrior Week 56, he came on a call one day through the pre-30-day training, and he completely blew my world. And he said, Tony, you have a serious abandonment issue. Until that time, I'd never heard that term before. I didn't know what it meant. I remember getting off the call and Googling that shit. I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? And I got into a rabbit hole of a bunch of
Coach
shit.
Samuel. Yeah,
Coach Samuel. And for me, this whole thing, so my past experience was with relationships. So this abandonment thing that I experienced with my father created a pattern in my life. And I looked back. Every girlfriend I've ever had in my life, I left them.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been dumped. Never. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. How the fuck is that? And after going deeper and deeper and deeper, I recognized that I didn't want to be left. I didn't want to be abandoned again. And as soon as I felt the heat coming, and it's kind of like shit's brewing, I better start packing up and get the fuck out of here, because I'm going to get my ass kicked to the curb, and I will never let that happen again. And that again, another life-changing moment.
So there are no coincidences. There are only miracles. And if you look at Warrior Week 56, and this is an observation that was made after the facts, the majority of men that came into Warrior Week 56, and if not all of the men in Warrior 56, had the same pain that you had, which is the abandonment from dad. And the one man that actually was able to communicate this to you was the man that had this but hasn't dealt with it too. So what you don't know is, during the preparation on a Monday, where we had all the guys in this office. We have all the coaches in this office. It was Coach Kevin, Coach Samuel, and two other guys, I believe Coach Matt. And then two other guys that were there. I think maybe Felix was there. And so anyway, we're here. We're studying the guys that are coming in. There's conversations about and so on, just preparing for next day. I go on a weekly call. They go on at lunch here by next by, and then there are conversations. There's like honest and real and raw conversation taking place between the coaches, and Coach Kevin turns around and tells the Coach Samuel, that there's no coincidence that, everybody's here that has like father issues. When are you going to deal with your father issues? And at that point, he kind of what are you talking about is like, kind of like, it wasn't resolved. Okay. And now that you're sharing this, I didn't know this. Now that you're sharing this, it was on maybe it was a week before or whatever that was, 10 days before, when he comes in and he actually delivered. So that message was truly coming in through him, because he hasn't dealt with that at that time. I don't know what the situation is, but at that time he hadn't dealt with it. And he was called out on it by another man that saw it, but yet he served as an instrument to deliver that message to you, which made more. And what took place inside of Warrior Week is that in the middle of Warrior Week 56, on the second day or on the fourth day, that was it for Coach Samuel. Like, he came into me and said, "Hey, I'm done here. My mission is done. I love you, man. I need to go." And so I was never after why, but it was just what it was, right? It's not bad. It's not a good thing. It's what it was. So he was served as an instrument, and he did what he needed to do, and off he go. And so to put it all together, right? You didn't plan for that. I didn't plan for that.
No.
It wasn't that we're going to target that and get, like, truly, when a man chooses to seek, the journey begins. You know what I found out today? I found out two things. Well, I knew this, but I didn't know the other thing. I knew that you couldn't get cancer in your heart. You can get cancer everywhere. So you couldn't get cancer in your heart. I'm like, fuck, okay, it's because of the heart energy. It's, you know what I mean? And then the other thing that I was told is apparently the cell on the organ, the cell in your heart organs, they don't really regenerate themselves, or like, I don't know if that's true or not. I still have to double check that. The person told me it wasn't a doctor, but apparently once your heart is made, your heart is made.
Cool.
So, which means your heart becomes now the witness. Right? From the time you're born all the way to the time that you leave this planet, the actual physical object that witnesses it all, because everything else kind of regenerates itself. It's that.
Sticks with you. That's one of my one of my biggest takeaways, and probably by far the most important thing that Warrior has done with me throughout my entire journey, and these last 6 years have been a whirlwind through this process, is a lot of people look at the external validation points of what Warrior does, whether, from a business perspective and all these different things. But when you talk to a lot of the guys and you get into real serious conversations, I find almost 99% of the time it's the refinding of themselves and reconnecting with their hearts. Because I find we live in a society where things get so busy and things get so hectic that if left ignored for long periods of time, you can get lost really quick, and your voice gets lost. You lose all perspective on, a lot of important things. And that for me was, Warrior Week 56 was all about reconnecting with myself and diving deeper, because I knew the first journey. I came into Warrior in 2014 to help me, to give me a set of tools to get through that separation. That was it had nothing to do with business. It had nothing to do with my body. Like that was everything else was good. I needed to get through this separation and fucking not fall apart. And that's how I felt where I was. Warrior Week 56, I remember it was almost Christmas Eve, and I text you, and I said, Sam, I need back in. And we got on a call, and I shared with you that my mother just found out she had brain cancer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't have the tools, and now I'm not prepared to be able to handle this. I felt that once again I was going down that fucking dark path again, and I was lost, like that little boy. And I was like, I need to get back in this. I need to be surrounded by the right people. I need to have the right perspective. I need to be opened up from a completely new perspective so that I can see this.
And this is the absolute proof that we are all linked to the child within.
Oh.
And I want you to look at the two elements that brought you inside of the discovery of, you didn't come to Warrior, bro. You seeked again.
Yeah.
The first time you seeked was this reminder of how you were abandoned and how this is at that time this is happening,
yep.
how you're mirroring, how you're channeling this to your son, and you wanted to stop it.
Yep.
Second time is now again another piece of you, which is your mom, which is the person that's always been there.
Yep.
It's like the foundation of your life, right? The
Yep.
person, and now you're about to like experiencing like the possibility of mom not being there anymore, right? Which is again puts you, both of those scenarios put you back inside of your childhood. And again, I'm not a fucking psychotherapist. I'm none of that shit, right? None of that shit. But the reality, I'm a fucking witness,
yep.
right? I'm a witness to what you've gone through in the past 6 years. I'm also a witness to what I have lived. You're a witness to what has been happening. You're also a witness to this conversation.
Yep.
And inside of that, when I talk to you about the heart, and when you start saying, when a man follows his heart, right? Most 99 fucking % of guys don't fucking understand what that means.
No idea.
They think it's a gut feeling. The problem with the gut feeling is there's also a lot of shit circling in your fucking gut. So like there's a lot of shit that you may hear. Following your heart is a simple conversation of like tuning in to this witness that we're talking about. Like if you look at me in the eye right now, like through my fucking eyes, who the fuck is watching you? Same thing to you. Inside, there's a guy. Who's that guy? It's not Tony, because you're the eye. So who's the guy? It's the witness, the soul. That soul, that soul is the one that gives us guidance and tell us where to go and how to. But we often don't listen to him.
Rarely did. And
so here's a practice that existed for more than 5,000 years inside. With Tibbins, some like to keep it a secret. Fuck it, I'll share this with here because I learned I share. If you don't know what does it mean to listen to your heart, it is said that you can do this exercise for 14 days. Now you're very in tune because of the experience in the past 6 years. I'm very in tune, but there's a lot of guys listening and I'm like not knowing what the fuck that means. And at best is like my gut feeling, and we're not talking about gut feeling. For thousands of years, this practice have been done like before going to bed. For 14 days, they say. You can do it 15, 13, I don't give a shit, but like that's what they say. For 14 days, you ask, you go to your bed and you allow this intention to sit right on your heart, right around the heart, before going to bed, and you ask for a conversation. You can ask a question such as, "What is my destiny?" Right? It could be as sophisticated as that is like, "I'm here to listen," right? And you allow that attention to sit on your heart, and for a moment you leave it there, and you almost feel like this kind of vibration of this stillness that comes in place. And within those 14 days, I don't know, it has to do with the moon cycle or not. I don't, like, listen, quite frankly, I don't give a shit if it's 13, 15. That's what it was told. But if you do that, I guess the point, if you do that night after night, one of those nights you're going to hear something, and that's where you follow that advice.
Mm-hmm.
And as you follow that advice and it materializes, the moment it materializes, that's the encounter. And that's the moment of belief that, okay, I now know how to listen to my heart.
Yeah, it's crazy that you explain the situation, because I have an interesting story behind that. So, what experience? I have no idea. It's probably in 2015. We were in Laguna, and it was probably like an Empire like event. And we were all staying at a beach in Laguna, a beach house in Laguna. There's like 10 of us. I remember. I can't remember all the guys that were there. Anyway, I had skipped out one afternoon, and I went to do a meditation by myself. And I'm laying there in bed, and I do at that point, we were taught the whole mantra of, what is it? Empathy,
honor,
and power.
Yeah.
There was like 3 of them. And I kept on doing that for like the first little bit. And then I got into the meditation, and then all of a sudden it was different. And then it felt, I've had a hard time trying to explain this to other people. And most people think I'm fucking nuts when I try to explain this. But it was this sudden feeling of kind of floating above the bed and kind of being able to see yourself from an outside perspective. And the whole floating. And I kept on asking myself the question, why am I here? Is this all there is? And I was taken on this beautiful journey that I will never forget, and that I continue to chase every day. And is that feeling of connectedness, a feeling of looking down and seeing and knowing the person that I'm looking at, and just this overall warmth of being in that moment of like floating in air. And it's like I kind of relate it to kind of what you're saying in terms of being able to recognize that moment. And it's only happened to me a few other times after that, but I continue to try to chase that feeling. I had it a couple weeks ago, and it's like there's nothing like it, and it's so hard to explain, but it's just this ultimate like moment at peace with yourself that, I don't know, it's just amazing.
So, one of the brothers that has been in prison, I shared with us, is like, hey man, in prison, your body has to be in prison, but your mind can be wherever the fuck you want it to be. And to enhance it to this experience is like, our mind and our body may be stuck here in this world, right? This physical material world, but our heart can travel wherever it wants to go. Yeah. And it's not by our will. And that's the key point. Because if you start when you did that meditation, whatever the fuck you did on the beach, it wasn't your will or neither your focus that got you where you are. No. It was your sensitivity that rised, because your will kind of like dropped. Like that's what it is. A lot of like the meditation practicer in Nepal and the Tibets, and on top of those fucking hills, on top of whatever the fuck they are, they say the following. They say it's the experience of letting go, right? Yeah. And that's what happened when you let go of your will, like the mind that is trying to focus, that is trying to concentrate, that is trying to find value, right? We often hear, hey, if I want to spend an hour and a half, like today we had a call, and the caller says, hey, I want to come on the calls, and I feel that I get value on this call. I get, listen, bro, I appreciate your comment, but like, stop using that, because I don't want you to be here with your fucking head. I want you here with your heart, right? Because you're in a total different place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, in a busy materialistic world such as us, it is very difficult to get those moments.
It is.
And it's a matter of practice.
Yep.
It's truly a matter of practice. But in order to practice it, you got to want it.
Yeah.
And I feel that often, including myself, we don't want it often.
I've ever since when was it? I think it might have been at the last Empire event, and you did it before the conversation with your 7-year-old self.
Yes.
So since we got back from Empire about a month and a half ago, every morning I do my meditation session is a 20-minute discussion with my 7-year-old self, and I've created a pretty elaborate picture in my mind in terms of the getting there, approaching myself when I was a child, and the different types of discussions that we've been having over the last month or 45 days has been unbelievable.
Absolutely.
It is ridiculous in terms of some days there's not a whole lot said. The destination is always different in terms of where we're walking. Funny thing is I found a lot of my discussions, we end up walking either the hallways of the building where I grew up or in the schoolyard of where I grew up.
Yes.
Enjoying the moments that I had as a child, remembering how liberating and how free it was to be a child. And it was helping me again release a lot of the bullshit stories or bullshit situations that we face every day in everyday life, in terms of maybe I got into a fight with my queen the night before, and I get into this meditation in the morning, and I'm like, once I'm done, I'm like, the fight that I had with her last night has absolutely zero significance on the greater picture of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And it just like, it totally grounds me, and it's like, just resets the frame for that entire day. And I'm incredibly grateful for that experience, because you taught that, and it was like, it's incredibly powerful.
Well, that's the whole conversation of, we all can remember the 7-year-old version of us, and we don't often do that, but we don't live with him.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is that you're living with him. It's the child within. He hasn't gone anywhere. I want you to have a visual. When you were 7, how tall were you?
I don't know, probably 3.5, 4 feet.
300. Okay. Let's say 4 feet,
4
right?
feet, yeah.
Okay. So I want you to see a visual. I want you to visualize a 4 feet heart, and like maybe a 5 centimeter brain. Now, how old are you right now?
43.
43. Now that side, the 4 feet of you, that's all your brain. That's all your brain. The 4 feet child, now it's a brain. It was all heart. Now the 4 feet child is all brain, and the rest of it is just your body.
Yeah.
And then you have the size of your actual size of heart, that, which is maybe like a fist, right?
Yep.
So you have your fist. So the difference and the resonance comes from that size of a fist today and 4 feet heart. But instead, you have a 4 feet fucking brain now, because what? You've evolved.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So this whole concept of there's so much to discover. And so for me, I'm kind of reliving that right now with my son. Like, my son is 10, and he kind of reminds me of, like, I really see him as me.
Oh, yes.
So when I do the meditation on 7-year-old, when I take you guys through, it's always like I don't see I see him.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks like me when I was 7. It's like, so when I see him, like, it's like me when I was 10. It's really crazy, man.
Oh,
and so I do some things like as if I would do to myself, and we have this relationship that, like, I feel like he's guiding me.
Yep.
You see what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I look at my son, and still to this day, my son is 8. And
Same age.
I get in trouble a lot from my queen, from my daughter, and from my mom, saying, like, you baby, like, Caden is the eye of your, like, the light of your eye. Every time you see him, you glow.
Yeah.
And everything is for him. And it's true. Like, I really, when I see him, I see me. And there's a big part of me that is, sometimes I kind of, maybe I overdo it, trying to overprotect him. But it's like, I see every movement, every mannerism, everything that he says brings me back to my childhood.
Same thing.
And I'm trying to live through him again.
Same exact thing, bro. But I didn't see him 7 years ago, 5 years ago. I didn't see him.
Yep.
It wasn't until I saw myself inside a warrior that I can see him. I didn't see him. What I saw was a guy that, you're supposed to do that. You go to bed at this time. You do this homework. you know, you're gonna learn this, you're gonna learn that. I didn't see him. Like, and everybody was right except him. The teachers were right. Everybody,
Oh, really?
everybody that criticized, oh, your son is agitated. Nowadays, oh, you know, your son this and this and that. It's like it comes in one ear, it goes another one. Like nothing sticks.
Yep.
Nothing. Give me my phone there. I want to play a message that he left, and I want you to just hear this, man, because this is crazy that this comes up. Okay, this is a message. So I do stacks now, and I send it to him, and I ask him to read it, and I ask him to give feedback. And so yesterday, I did a stack on how I trust him, and he trusts me, and exactly what this conversation is right now, which is 100% about, 100% about me believing him first. Like I'm putting that seed inside of him. I'm putting the seed that, hey, I trust you. Like, don't lie to me. Don't lie to other people. Like, it's okay. You can fuck up and you'll pay consequences for it.
Yep.
But at least you haven't lied.
Yep.
So I've asked him what was the meaning of my stack to him, and listen to this.
Okay, Daddy, so I know that me and you can never lie to each other because you believe in God and I do, and if we lie, then it means that we don't believe in God, and it means we lie that we lied to God. So if we lie to people, then we're lying to God. Plus, it makes you more in trouble. So, yeah, I love you.
So I mean, dude, like this. I'm not coaching this kid, right?
Crazy.
Like I'm not telling him what the fuck to say. Like literally, the time that I spent with him, it's crazy. Like it's exactly what the contrary of what I always was like. Oh, I'm gonna spend time with my son or read him this. No, the time I spend with him is like we watch funny videos, we hang out, and that's what he enjoys. But then this comes out of it, right? This comes out of it, and so this comes out of it. That means what? That it's already there. Like it's already there. Like we're not gonna put it in there, bro. It's already, the heart is already formed.
I remember when Caden was young, I'd say probably the first couple of years, first 2 years, I could remember I'd be looking at him and I'd kind of get lost, and a lot of times ending in tears.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite sure why. It's like almost every time I looked at him, I would well up. A lot of those reasons I can now reconnect to where, again, I was reconnecting with my childhood, and I was putting him in the same position that he was feeling the same pain as I was feeling. So I was thinking that because I had separated with my ex, that he was feeling lonely, he was feeling abandoned, and he was feeling all these negative feelings toward me, where it was completely false. And it was all in my head. And every time I'd look at him, I was like, oh fuck, man, I'm letting him down. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. I gotta stop this stuff. And now, kind of like what you're sharing there through the video, I still lived through that young boy and that child, and I still love him to pieces, and that'll never go away. But these little surprises are starting to show up as well. I haven't gotten to a point to share the stacks and stuff with him because he's still, I'm hoping it's going to come soon. I share my stacks with my daughter, which is 13. But Caden now, sometimes I've been asking him a little bit tougher questions. So I asked him the other day in terms of when I did the Ironman, I'm like, why do you think I did that? In terms of, I wanted to see how he understood the whole situation. And the explanation that he gave me kind of surprised me. He goes, well, I know you love working out, and because that's all you do, but I know you want to be a better father. I'm like, how the fuck did he? Where did that come from? I didn't tell him that.
No.
And I'm like, I broke down. Of course, I was a mess. But it's like it was a very gratifying moment, because he's now seeing. He's able to kind of put the pieces together in terms of why I'm doing all the stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not ego driven. It's not for nothing that I'm doing all of these different things. And he's seeing the changes in me happening. And it's absolutely amazing to watch, because sometimes I don't think they're watching. As we all know as parents, it's like, I don't know if they get why I'm doing what I'm doing or why I say what I say. But that was an inspiring moment to where I'm on the right path. This kid is seeing the stuff that I'm doing, and more importantly, the reasons behind it.
You want to know something crazy? They already know.
Yeah.
We think that we have to put the knowledge in them.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they already know. And if we nourish it with love, it flourishes it, right? It comes out.
Yeah.
All we got to do is just pour in love into it,
Yep.
which for me 7 years ago was all about, oh, I'm going to teach him that. I'm going to do them. Today, I'm in a place, man, where I don't give a fuck about school. I don't give a fuck about anything because I know he already knows.
Mm.
It's an old soul traveling through him, just like an old soul inside of me.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It already has the knowledge. It's here for another pair of lesson.
Yeah.
Series of lessons.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit guilty. I'm still a little stuck there. I haven't hit where you've hit in terms of I still wake up every morning and I'm like, okay, what message can I teach my 3 kids today?
Yeah, I mean
and it's like, and I always get stuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to do.
Well, here's what I
get
did.
all
Here's
fucked
what I
up.
did because I was there too, not too
Yeah.
long ago. I was there 13 days ago.
Oh, okay.
And 13 days ago, I was this massive amount of guilt and shame of exactly where you're.
Yeah.
So here's what changed it all. So when I say I share my stack with him, no, I don't share my stacks with him because you wouldn't have. I'm sharing a gratitude stack on him.
Oh,
So I
okay.
do a gratitude stack on him every single day.
Mm.
Today was day 13, so 13 gratitude stack on him, and it's not that complicated. It's just like what happened yesterday, how grateful I am for it, and inside of that, some conversations, and that's it. And then I started doing something a little bit crazy, which I was going to reveal at Empire event, but I'm going to reveal to you right now. But when I drive him to school, I have him read the gratitude stack that I did on him, so he's reading it with me.
Mm.
So the whole concept of gratitude stack is one way deposit, right?
Yeah.
I kind of like broke the lure and say, fuck it, let me like, but it's like, it's amplifying the whole thing for at least for me and him. Because he's reading it out loud and I'm hearing it and bro, I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying anything after. Like I'm not coaching, I'm not saying anything. It's just to read. He says, thank you. And it's nice. So this is like, nourishing the seed. They already know. You know, they already know because what the fuck? Where else would he get be a better daddy? It was like,
Yeah.
you're 8? What? Better daddy?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what does that mean, man?
Yeah,
You know what? The same thing with what he said.
I've had some visions. This was the first experience with Caden where he kind of came up with something like that.
Yeah.
My daughter's 13, and I've been sharing stacks with her for
Yeah,
a little bit,
yeah.
now. And she's probably been the most consistent in terms of my daily deposit with my texts.
Wow.
I've been texting her for years,
Yes.
every morning, ever since she's got her phone or her iPad, and she never replies. She never talks about it. She never really brings it up.
Mm-hmm.
I've been sharing stacks with her, and a few weeks ago, we got into a kind of a big fight, her and my fiance,
Yeah.
Chantal. And Sarah, she was crying hysterically
Yes.
for about an hour. So she got in, Chantal said something, she didn't like it, she started tearing up, and she couldn't control the emotion. So I took her downstairs and we kind of just sat face to face, and she was just like, she was losing it, just crying and crying. And after about a half hour, I calmed her down and I put her in front of the keyboard and I opened up a angry stack.
Mm.
And I didn't tell her what to do. I don't want to coach you through this. I'm not looking for you to explain. I realize you're in a place right now where you may not know exactly how you're feeling or how to express yourself. So I want you to try to write this out. So I opened up the stack on the computer and I left the room.
Mm.
And she did an angry stack on my fiance.
Yeah.
I just left the cursor running at the first thing, and she did it all on her own. And I read it later on that night, and I was like floored on the stuff that she was saying about the situation.
Yeah.
And how she was able to do the stack with zero guidance. Like, I've seen some guys in Warrior that don't know how to fucking do a stack, and they're constantly
Fuck
asking.
yeah, man.
They're asking like, well, how do I do this, or how do I interpret this, and how do I say that?
Yeah.
Nothing. And she wrote that thing out, and it was incredible. She hasn't done another one, but again, kind of like the moment with my son, she's been listening. she's interpreting this shit. She's internalizing some of this stuff. She's 13. And even though she doesn't communicate a whole lot, she doesn't go there on her own. I think that made me confident to where I am building up a foundation in my daughter to where hopefully someday she will, she'll take it over and she'll take it to the next level. And it's exposing her to a way to help her communicate some of this shit and not keep it bottled up.
Very well said.
Yeah.
For children, it's just a communication tool for the time being, right? They won't really get into the revelations, although they already know. They already know. And then at one point, they know that they already know and like, okay, now I'm a fucking ninja at this. But for children, I believe it's a fantastic communication tool. And at the age of 13, it's absolutely fucking awesome that, she's able to express herself. The point of this is life goes on. It's been 6 years for you, and there's been an evolution inside of that. Warrior Week 11 all the way to 56, and just working on you, a commitment and a dedication to become better, to continue to pour into your cup so you can pour into your children's cup, to your fiance's cup, and your future wife. And when is the wedding?
November next year.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You going to do a buffet?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? Italian buffet style?
I don't know.
I want the midnight buffet.
Yes,
Le buffet minuit. Huh?
We'll see.
Are you doing good? A good wedding has a midnight buffet.
Yes, I've heard.
A bunch of guys, Blake Sloan, a bunch of guys are getting married. I'm like, bro, if you get a midnight buffet, I'll fucking come down there, man.
You'll get an invite.
But good music, good food, and the midnight fucking buffet, because, everybody dances, everybody's fucking hungry, and people get hangry, right?
Oh,
because
yes.
okay, but if you bring in the food, now you're like injected another 2-3 hours of happiness.
Yes.
So I love the Italian weddings and all kind of weddings back. I mean, I grew up with Italians and Greeks wedding, and they go on and on and on, and so look forward to that. But I wanna hear from you, like, where is life today versus 6 years ago for you?
Unrecognizable. 6 years ago, I had no vision or clarity on exactly where I was going or what I was supposed to do. I had just ended a 15-year career as a software engineer with IBM and was venturing on my own in my own business. So I'm in the property management world, the real estate world, and I knew I was very confident that I wanted to take that journey as an entrepreneur. I was done working for somebody else, so that was clear. But I had no clarity in terms of where I wanted to bring that business. I had no clarity in terms of the type of man I wanted to become for my kids, or the type of man for my next queen. Everything was foggy. I can remember painfully vividly spending day after day after day, literally sitting in front of my computer, staring at the screen, going from email, Facebook, Instagram, email, Facebook, Instagram, just fucking sedating. I'm like, I can't think of anything else. I'm just like, I don't fucking care. And so the lack of clarity was massive back then. So where I am today is been a complete turnaround. So my businesses are doing extremely well. Ever since I joined Warrior, or I've been part of this program, I've been able to grow it into a substantial business that's done very well for me. My family has been, we call it une famille reconstituée. I think the English term for that.
Yeah. Let them fucking Google it.
Yeah.
Une famille reconstituée.
So when I got with my queen, we were very nervous on bringing, because she has a son, I got two kids, and how do you bring all this together and be successful at it?
Yes.
It's tough. It's not easy. At
all.
No. And there was a lot of challenges. So my growth came at a point probably about 5 or 6 months ago where I did an exercise with my queen to where we looked at kind of like the fact map stuff, to where we looked at our relationship and our family and where we were and where we're going. And I remember her saying at the end of the conversation, she goes, it's amazing to see the person that you've transformed into over the last few years, because we could not have had this discussion 3 or 4 years ago. You just you didn't know this type of stuff, nor would you have had the space to be able to have these types of discussions. So I think I've grown as a man. I've become more of a person that someone that can depend on. I've become a leader in the home, to where I'm not afraid to voice my opinion or to be able to teach and show my kids different things that I want them to know. My relationship with my queen, I was on the fence for a long time in terms of making that commitment.
Yeah.
Because again, I was fearing that. Now I was fearing I'm going to fuck up another wedding.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck up another woman, and I'm going to traumatize my kids for life if this relationship doesn't work. So I was going through a lot of different things in my head, but it came down to a point to where once I received and I unpacked the baggage of the past, it opened up this pathway and this clarity that I'd never experienced before. So 2019 has been like a speed train that you see in Europe in terms of my body and what I've accomplished this year, and what I've been able to pull off with my fiance in terms of getting engaged, and as well in my business. I'm a new author. My book is going to be released on Thursday.
Nice. What's the name?
It's called The Doorpreneur, Property Management.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of
Where can we find the book?
Amazon chapters,
Okay.
just about everywhere.
Okay.
And it really highlights the path of what has happened and what's transpired over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's taken my life, it's taking my business, it's taking the stories of Warrior, the growth, the mindset that is required to succeed, I believe, in this world. It's been a trip.
Wow.
It's been an amazing 2019.
It's been an amazing journey to watch your growth for the past 6 years, and continue to do so. Truly an example, and the fruits of Warrior, the beacons of Warrior, the Warrior's way. This thing that's fucking started with just Garrett wanting to make his life better, man. And you know, it's crazy. It's grown to 50,000 active students. 5 books, 7 courses, a series of 9 challenges inside of the King's Journey. And Warrior Weeks, 61 coming up in 3 weeks. 61 fucking Warrior Weeks, man. 61 fucking, like, and ever since there's been so many other programs very similar to it. We've created 123 certified trainers. Many of the certified trainers started their own program. Many people on the outside watching the guys on the beach, right? And going and wanting to replicate a model like that. And there are many, 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 many guys right now replicating this model. And it's not, I don't want to say copy. It's just they've been inspired by it. So they started a journey, a chapter of their own. So for years I was like, fuck, copy this. And today is like, hey man, you know, you do you, do your people, you do your tribe. And, you know, I appreciate and honor everybody inside of the space. But 7 years ago, nobody was on the beach.
Hell no.
7 years ago, nobody was real raw, and none of this shit was happening. And like, if it was happening, it was behind closed door. And like, so like, there is a revolution that took place inside of the world of masculinity, and 100%, without a doubt, Warrior stands at the foundation of that.
Oh, without a doubt.
And to see so many other programs out there, and so many people resonating with that. Not everybody resonates with Warrior. There are many ways to the way, right? And Warrior may be one of the way, and some other ways. But the truth is, there's been an absolute battle of self-development that has taken place year after year, month after month, day after day, as you choose to be aware that you can become better. And you're a true fruit and example of that. Once again, what's the name of the book? Because I want everybody to get the book and fucking read the story through.
Yeah, it's called The Doorpreneur.
The Doorpreneur. Okay.
Doorpreneur,
Your story, and as well as inside of the real estate business as well,
Real
right?
estate, property management, and the Warrior's messages.
Warrior's message. And, you know, part of the other thing is there's a lot of guys, you know, working inside of, you know, industries, airline, software, whatever that is. Like, you know, to move from an engineer to an entrepreneur is not a shift that happens overnight, right? It's just like, you know, for years you're molded to be an engineer, and next thing you know, now you're on your own building some stuff. So all that is actually you know, a lot of people relate to that. A lot of people, whether that's something that has to happen, not you, the person knows inside what needs to get done. Sometimes environment, conditions, and life situation brings us to make that decision. Other times it's a pure choice, and there's an awakening that takes place. Just it took place with you. So for you guys that want to watch more of this, you'll find more details on warriorweeknow.com. There'll be video, audios, and transcript. And, of course, you can also have this on iTunes. For those of you that want to subscribe to the new journey here at Warrior, it's becomeaking.com. Inside of that, there's the King's Journey and the new adventure inside of Warrior, which will bring you inside with 50,000 other students and going through this journey of the King. Warrior Weeks are happening from time to time. It's by invitation now. There's a lot of stuff happening, Be the Man events. There's a lot of stuff happening inside of Warrior. But we look forward hearing from you. My only request from all of you is that if this message has resonated somehow, somewhere with you, like, don't share it generically on your Facebook. Don't share it on your Instagram. Like, don't fucking share this in some general intention. Take the link and shoot it like a fucking arrow in someone's heart. Just one person. Just shoot it in their fucking heart. Have an intention, have a focus. If it has resonated with you, just share it with another man. If Tony's story is a similar story of a friend of yours or somebody that you know in your life, just share that with him, and that would be my only request. Tony, thanks for being on the show, bro.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, talk to you soon.